welcome.
Hi, Lina.
It's good to have you here. No, it truly is. Disclaimer, I speak to Remy weekly, but I've never done it in public, so it's a little bit interesting challenge. Anyway, I want to, we don't have too much time, so I want to go to the point. And it's pretty obvious looking from the outside that Swedbank as organization truly cares about sustainability. So this program that you initiated here is only one of many, many examples. Also, I know that, you know, as a business model itself, as a financial institution, you're not that, don't know the right word for it, but you don't emit a lot of CO2, right? So majority of the banking is done offline. The employees sit in the offices. Maybe they have an odd flight, which obviously has reduced dramatically past the pandemic. I know for a fact that Swedbank offsets all its CO2. So, you know, you're climate neutral and you're one of very, very little, not many companies that actually use a science-based target initiative to further reduce its footprint. And yet, in the last Lithuania's business forum, you spoke on the topic, why do bankers count CO2 emissions as well as money? So, could you explain why does a bank do that?
That was such a good question. You've already answered in the question. It's incredible. Yes, that's correct. Banking is actually not a very emissions-intensive activity. Last year, Swedbank, I believe, had CO2 emissions of about 2,000 tons in Lithuania, something in that region, and it's all offset and so on. But of course, at a very basic level, a bank, you know, channels money. Money is the lifeblood of the economy, and therefore we enable a lot of the investments and the consumption that happen in the wider economy, right? Swedbank Lithuania's balance sheet is in the region of 25% of Lithuania's GDP, which gives you an idea of, you know, the kind of impact we have through our financing activity and through our transactional activity in the economy. So that really is the reason why we're interested in the sustainability transformation among businesses and in broader society. And what we're seeing in our daily activity is basically, especially in the first rank, is large businesses. So in the context of you know, the global changes in expectations from consumers and also regulatory changes, large businesses are really in the front lines, having to face new expectations with regard to understanding their climate impact and effecting change. We find ourselves in a situation where we need to enable the real economy to change because, you know, in the end, they're our customers. The science-based target that you referred to, we Swedbank Group, including the Baltics, committed to reaching net zero on our real estate related lending portfolios by 2050 and reducing by depends on the market, but in the region of 40% by 2030. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this need for businesses to transform as well, and obviously you as a lifeline, financial lifeline for them, you can help that. I presented 5 areas today of challenges. There is many more. So it basically covers every possibly type of business that there is. And to make a change, we all know that you need motivation, and that can be internal motivation because you want you're socially responsible and you want to do something good and so forth. But the motivation could be external, right? So I think everyone can relate to a little bit to electricity in our lives. We can switch off the light and change the light bulbs because we care about the planet, or we just received the latest electricity bill. So I wanted to talk about that external motivation in the form of EU regulation, right? Because that is coming, and that is going to put some requirements on the businesses. Could you tell what they are?
I'm not going to give you a lecture about EU regulation, but yes, the EU regulation in the area of sustainability is becoming a very serious thing. So we have things like the climate-focused environmental impact classification system known as the taxonomy coming in. We have a new corporate sustainability reporting directive coming in, and we have a host of other regulations from the EU coming in, ranging from a widening of the emissions trading system, a carbon border adjustment tax, lately, just before Christmas, an agreement on a regulation for deforestation-free products. So there's a lot of regulation coming in. Now, the other important thing is that the EU in sustainable finance has put a particular focus on the financial sector. And the reason why that is because they've correctly identified that in order to reach the EU's Paris Agreement targets, there's a need to invest 350 in the region or above 350 billion euros per year by 2030. And that cannot be done alone by the public sector. So the private finance is necessary in order to step in. So it's a joint challenge, basically. You've got regulation on business, and you've also got regulation on finance in order to achieve this joint objective. It's impossible for finance to do it alone. It's impossible for companies to do it alone. It's something that we need to do together. In the first wave, I would say it mainly affects large businesses, but there's going to be very quickly a domino effect, because large businesses, in order to be sustainable through the life cycle of their products, will be requiring smaller businesses in their supply chains also to be sustainable. So it's the smaller fish are going to be touched by this effect very quickly as well.
Okay, so in very simple terms, if I am a company and I want to grow and scale and borrow money, I would have to basically prove that my activity is helping to achieve Paris Agreement. Is that correct?
In the end, yes, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so we spoke about what and then why. Let's talk about how to do that. Obviously, one of the ways that businesses could achieve this more sustainable way of doing things is working with third parties. And this is where I'm leading to, why does business have to work with startups? Are there any benefits to that? And if there are, could you tell what you see from your side? I know from my side what I think, but just from business perspective.
Yes, of course, there are many benefits, and that's why we meet every week. So, as everyone who's from the startup community here knows, large businesses have certain disadvantages, right? I mean, their complex decision-making is slower. Time to market is also slower. There's a certain amount of inertia in large businesses. And when it comes to sustainability, we're talking about very, very deep changes required in the way that we produce, in the way that we consume, in business models. Very big transformations for which we don't have much time, actually, because the climate's changing quickly. So the advantage of pairing up with startups is that there you're talking about a world where change is fast. Innovation comes more quickly. You're talking about more agile, a more agile world. I see it every time I come to ROCKIT, and it's really nice to see sort of small teams that are less fearful of failure and actually experience failure more often than large businesses, but as a result innovate much faster.
Okay, and for businesses, I guess it's all the other one is that you can quickly pilot an idea with a startup. You don't have to possibly do a very long project in-house.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's fresh input quickly into your company is an invaluable thing. But then again, the large businesses also have a lot to offer to the startups, right? I mean, a large business has more experience, more in-depth understanding of its market, a client base, access to data. So it really is a marriage made in heaven.
Yes, the trust as well from the customers, because they established. But to inspire the startups and the businesses that might be listening, let's give some examples of successful cooperation between businesses and startups and where it went really well. So there could be some inspiration to work after this program. I have a couple. Would you like to start?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You start.
Okay, so so I'll start from big, sort of global, and then give one very local. So the global example that I have, so you all might heard of this little virus that's been spreading around that's been called COVID, and that there has been a vaccine created for it. And a vaccine has been created by a very well-established business called Pfizer, but not a lot of people know that they've done that together with a health startup called BioNTech. And just because they were working with a startup, with a third-party startup, I think that is one of the reasons why they managed to do that so quickly, because if they have been working in the old ways, the way they have been doing it all the time, we possibly would be still waiting for that vaccine. But working with a third party and the startup allowed it to do in really a record time that the world has not seen before. So this is my global example, and I want to make it a little bit more simple so you're not disheartened by such big challenges. I would like to tell about the Swedbank's experience with a startup from Estonia, Compact, that Swedbank met through ROCKIT. Shameless advertisement here. The challenge was very simple. We have been speaking how Swedbank is a very sustainability conscious brand and a company that really walks the talk. And it's obviously very important for such a company to make sure that every single employee, which is quite a few of them, is aware of sustainability topics and are quite competent in talking about it. And the challenge is, how do you do that without you could just send a couple of links and say, here, read it at your spare time. Or you could try and make it a little bit more engaging and interactive. So what this, is it okay that I'm telling about this? Would you like to? Yeah, it's okay. Okay. So what this startup has done, nothing really revolutionary per se. They took a solution that already existed, and that solution is called chatbot, and integrated that chatbot into the teams. So sometimes, instead of a colleague, this sustainability chatbot would write you a message, giving you snippets of information, sometimes a questionnaire, sometimes a challenge to try at home, and it would interact with you by asking you a question, and you could give a reply and have a little chat. And in such a way, after the pilot, I think the reviews and the feedback was so positive that it's going to be rolled out for the whole employee base in Lithuania. So this is closer to home, and that it can really happen. And I hope that those who listen are inspired, that you can work with the businesses and come up with the great ideas. Do we have anything to?
Yeah, and I can add my testimony, because I was part of that pilot, and actually that it is really a great chatbot. I mean, I actually felt like I had a friend in Teams.
The future of AI. Great. So our time is coming to the end. So what I would like to do is to do a little bit of time traveling now. So we're talking about this innovation program that we're opening up today. Let's imagine that we're a few months ahead and the program has finished, and you're on this very stage and you're saying that this program has been a success because... What would a success look like for you?
Because a number of ideas have been sufficiently developed to be piloted with corporate partners and in a scalable way.
And that's our wish to you.